see her lying back in her satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Sundown, you better take care.
Hey, happy Homebrew Wednesday. Not a homebrew. This is what is this? Adroit Theories. It's a hazy IPA. It's called All Hallow Victory. Love these guys. And the cool thing about it is they even tell you, what you can pair with this thing in terms of food, cheese, cigars, I think. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see. Smells like a double IPA. And tastes like a double IPA. All right, well, I am done judging my SJ Pour 2019 round 2 challenge entries, and I'm quite a bit early. What is today, the 10th? Or no, today's the 11th. I have 1 week left before the judging is final, so so that's that. So fingers crossed that I make it into round 2. And good luck to all my other round 1 individuals out there, all my other round 1 teammates. Hopefully at least one of us can kick those all-stars ass in the next round. So brewing has been really fast, a fast, feverish pitch the past week, really. So I did my SJ Pour round 2 brew, so I have that thing ready in time. Then we'll see. Before that, I brewed a Helles for the Oktoberfest party, neighborhood party. Did that a little over a week ago, so I just ramped the temperature up to 65, so it'll stay at 65 this week. Then this coming weekend, I'll ramp it slowly down to 36 degrees, where I'll let it sit for another week before I keg it, so it'll be ready in time for the Oktoberfest. I did the SJ Pour round 2 brew on, I think it was Friday evening, late Friday evening, and then I did I think Sunday or no, I did the SJ Pour Challenge beer Friday evening, and then Sunday evening I did another beer for the Oktoberfest party. It was going to be a Oktoberfest beer, but I don't have enough time, so I read somewhere you could do a Mocktoberfest where you just use your lager yeast and ferment it at ale temperatures. Why not? I've never done that before. So, I mean, it's going to add some fruity esters to it, I would imagine, but for an Oktoberfest, that doesn't sound too bad. I wouldn't do that for a Helles, but for an Oktoberfest, a Marzen, which is, it's a pretty rich colored beer. I think the esters as long as there's not any sulfur or any off flavors like that in there, hope not. But anyway, I cranked down the temperature here in the basement to 65. I can't use the refrigerator because I've already got something going in there. So my two options, I was either thinking about using the Quake yeast, which I talked about last Homebrew Wednesday, but I decided not to do that once I read that Mocktoberfest article. So I used Imperial's Harvest Ale L17, which is supposed to be good for Helles's, Bocks, all kinds of different lagers. Figured it would be pretty good. If it's good for a Bock, it should be good for should be pretty good for an Oktoberfest. So again, crossing fingers, we'll see what happens. I'll keep everybody posted. If it works out, it's a hell of a lot easier doing that than it is doing a lager. Although I like lagers, I don't think I would do that with a light lager. But if it works out, then that might be my new norm. So since I brewed that on, so I did it on Sunday night, and as soon as I pitched that yeast, man, next morning it was chugging away. It was chugging away almost as violently as like an Imperial Stout or a Quake fermentation. It was it was smoking. So I had to put a blow-off tube on it. It's still going pretty well. It's still bubbling pretty good, but it's slowed down considerably from what it was yesterday morning. So anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe I shock the yeast and maybe they ferment out and don't get my terminal gravity. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll keep everybody posted. We'll see. This past week was after Homebrew Wednesday. It was like crazy town. Friday was my daughter's first band football game. The football team, which hasn't done that well in the past, it was like 14-0. They were up 14-0. They ran down the field, got a touchdown. The opposing team, the away team, deferred, which is kind of, to me, that's kind of like a F you to the other team's offense. But they said okay. They took it on their own 20, drove it all the way down the field with a lot of passing and running. It was a really good attack, balanced attack. They scored. Then on the ensuing kickoff, they hit the kick run back guy pretty hard, and he fumbled. And then they got the ball inside the 35-yard line, and then they drove it down for another touchdown. So they were up 14-0 in the first 2 minutes. I'm thinking, this is great. We're sitting right next to my daughter, who was in the band section. She plays the flute, and so she was going to go out over halftime. But then, as halftime approached, the other team kind of came back, and I think going into halftime, it was like 22-23. The other team was up a point. So, but man, it was a good game. Then halftime happened, and my daughter did not tell me that besides playing the flute, she would be dancing. So, all right, who's coming here? Don't look at the score. If you look at this video, my daughter is like front and center. I try to keep the video centered on her, and she bust out and danced in the football field. And I imagine I had a few tears. I was a little sappy, but man, it was so cool. So then later, we left at halftime because my wife wasn't about to stick out there the whole time. And then we came back. I came back at picked up my daughter around 10:30 once the football game was over, and she got out of her band uniform, and they lost. I think. Halftime it was 22-21. Yeah, they lost 33-34, I guess. So it was a pretty good game. But she, really loves the band, and she's also in travel soccer. So then we had to, get ready for Sunday, which was their first travel soccer game. And this team this year it's a total change from last year. They've got this new coach. And she's freaking hardcore, no nonsense. She's talking about winning the President's Cup. So they went out there and ended up tying the team 1-1, and it was and my daughter was elected by her teammates to be the team captain. It was a surprise. So, man, it was all crazy. So I was planning on going to New York this coming weekend to go see Hamilton with my wife and 2 kids, but my daughter now, she's a team captain. She's really into the soccer. She didn't want to miss this weekend. There's a tournament down in Virginia, a little south of Virginia, out near Larmo's Way on Saturday. So she didn't want to, then there's their regular away game on Sunday, and she didn't want to miss them. So we canceled 2 of the train tickets, found some friends that'll take the tickets for the Hamilton for me and my daughter, my wife and my son will still go up there and hang out with their friends. And then my daughter and I will stay down here and do the soccer team deal and hit the games. I think we're going to try to go catch It in the theaters too, because my daughter likes scary movies. So anyway, that's my update. A lot of stuff going on. It's a lot of fun. I'm almost back to sweater weather, but I like when I call it "May the Schwartz be with you" when you wear a sweater and shorts, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, waiting for the temperatures to kind of come down a little bit, so it's that nice fall weather, and start busting out. First, the next beer I'm going to do is probably going to be Larry's Roadrunner Pale Ale. He sent me the recipe for that. I tasted it down in NHC and I really loved it, so I'm going to try that because he'd never given me a bottle of it before. And then I'll go from there. And this is the 18th anniversary of one of the most tragic days in our nation's history. Try to imagine where you were 18 years ago. I can imagine exactly where I was. Kind of go back in time a little bit. On September 10th, my wife and I were flying back from Curacao into DCA, Washington, D.C. Reagan National Airport from our honeymoon. And when the taxi driver picked us up, he looked just like Osama bin Laden. And I told my wife, I said, "Man, that looks like Osama bin Laden." And she's like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, because civilians didn't know who Osama bin Laden was on September 10th. So anyway, we were moving out of her apartment, and I had gotten orders to get stationed in Fort Bragg in the 82nd Airborne Division, my very first Fort Bragg assignment in North Carolina. And so we hopped in the car, we drove down. We had already found a house that we were buying a little ways away from Fort Bragg, and we stayed at a hotel that night just up the street from our new house. And we were going to get up in the morning on September 11th and close on our house. So I was the first to wake up, and I turned on the TV just as the second plane was about to fly into the building, into the World Trade Center. And I woke my wife up and I said, "Man, something's not right. This is like a terrorist attack or something." And it's funny, as we were driving down to Fort Bragg, she asked me, she said, "Well, you're going to Fort Bragg. Are you going to have to go off to war or anything?" And I was like, "Nah, those Bragg guys, they do a lot of jumping. They do a couple of exercises, but they don't really do many deployments." Anyway, the bank that was holding our escrow account, cleared out and evacuated, as did most, tall buildings on that day. And so we weren't able to close until the next day. But I got my wife signed in. She had never been around the military before, and I was driving to Fort Bragg. I think on September 13th, I went and signed in. And I signed into the battalion that was the number 1 deployable unit in the number 1 brigade at the time. They had these rotating deployment brigades. And it was just, our lives were completely changed. And, what I remember from that day is how unified the country was. All this polarization that we see these days was a little bit back in 2001, but it wasn't anywhere near as bad as it is now. I don't want another tragic event to happen to, pull the country back together, but it would be nice to, people to think on today, how we all came together as one nation, and solidified against evil. And anyway, sorry I'm rambling. That's just a personal story from my history or recollection of 9/11, 2001. So anyway, on that down note, have a happy homebrew and a happy homebrew Wednesday. Cheers.